Hello, everybody. I usually play a longer song and I was taken off guard. We're going to play this song that Miss Donna created for the missing children in Canada, for Jack and Lilly.
Across the quiet fields where the snow begins to fall, a silent question echoes down each and every hall. From the Atlantic shore to the Pacific's wide embrace, a drawing left unfinished, a favorite teddy bear, gentle reminder stabbed, hanging in the air. A parent's heart is aching, refusing to give in, praying for the day when the searching finally ends and they can hold them again. Where are all the children in Canada tonight? Underneath the northern lights, hidden from our sight, we keep a candle burning, a constant, faithful glow, hoping that they feel the love where the cold winds blow. Be safe, little one, wherever you may be. The heroes that you need are hoping to set you free. Does the silence feel too heavy? Family meant to keep. We are looking, we are trying across this spacious land. We need strong hands to help us. We need everyone to stand. Where are all the children in Canada tonight? Underneath the northern lights, hidden from our sight, we keep a candle burning, a constant, faithful glow, hoping that they feel the love where the cold winds blow. Be safe, little one, wherever you may be. The heroes that you need are coming, waiting to set you free. To the parents waiting by the phone, you are not in this alone. Bring them home, bring them home. Let our heroes rise. His grandma was watching him boots planted. Creek searched, no neighborhood were checked, no cameras were looked at, no geofencing used. His grandma just turned around for 18 seconds and then little Dylan went poof. Truro police looked for 6 days. Why weren't the planted boots checked for fingerprints? Or even DNA? Dylan's mom don't speak to her mom anymore. Was it traffickers? Or did neglected to check all avenues because they choose to check the easiest thing was the body of water? He is still missing. Does he wonder if his family is looking? Does he still remember his daddy's voice? Does he cry at night when it's dark and scary? Why cannot Canada do better by the children? They need heroes to come along and bring this children back. They need their parents to hold them tight. Stand up, Truro. And the RCMP, throw those guilty, sick members of your offices and government out the damn door. Our children need a hero. Let it be you!
That song gets me every time. It's a powerful song, isn't it, Donna? Welcome in, everybody. I missed you all so much. I really have. I've been writing. But yeah, I had to talk about this. I had to talk about this. We know Malehya. Gosh, I feel like I want to cry just at the thought of these kids. Hey, Hope, sweetie. Hello, my baby's army, sweetie. Nice to see you. Say hi to the mods, everybody. Say thanks to the mods. I wanted to talk about this because I think it's an important conversation. Thank you, sweetie. I've missed you guys too. I'm all over the place. And I want to talk. It's not that I want to talk about me, but I can relate to what Malehya has been going through. And I'm not here to say that she is completely innocent, but with the latest arrest of Mr. Martell and the information that has come out, I had to get in the chat so I can see. I miss you, sweetie, too. I'm going to talk about something very personal here that I've never shared before. And maybe that's why I'm super emotional. I want people who have never suffered from domestic violence to try to just shelf your opinion of Malehya for a second. Because I've lived it. I lived it with my ex-husband, my daughter's father, who didn't know the circumstances literally until a couple of years ago in their 30s. Well, 28 and 30, 31. Because I kept it from them. And when we read through the article here from the Chronicle Herald, I had come on and done a reading to say, I guess I feel very personally attached to this about what I'm going to say today. That's why I'm struggling. And I've been very quiet about the people that have attacked her. But I have said all along, and I told everybody that, and I told the RCMP that she wanted to leave. This was an abusive relationship. I said that on May 8th when I spoke with Mike Wilson of the RCMP. May 8th. The kids were reported missing May 2nd. Do I think the rumors of her having been in the hospital are true? Likely, yes. Do I think that's because reality came crashing down on her? Yeah, I do. And when my ex-husband was supposed to go to jail for what he did to me, the police pleaded with me. In fact, my friend Jim, I think I mentioned it before, the one in the wheelchair, was the house that I ran to, because he had already tried to strangle me months before with a telephone rope around my neck to the point of almost losing consciousness when I tried to call 911. Back in the day when the phones were on the wall, I was calling 911, and he ripped the phone off the wall and took the cord around my neck, and I could barely breathe. So the second time, I ran to the police. My 7-year-old at the time daughter. Yeah, I know. And I think only women who have suffered it can truly understand it. So for those that will watch this later or here now in the live, and the men out there, please reserve judgment and do some research. I want to just talk about this today. Everybody assumed that Daniel, at the very beginning, not everybody, a lot of people assumed, because Daniel was the one outwardly in the public speaking, that he was likely the innocent one. A lot of people assumed, since Malehya had vanished, that she was likely negative to the case. And that's not necessarily factual. That's just our assumption based on our view and our lens of the world. When I was told by my 7-year-old daughter to have her dad to go to the police station after what she and her other daughter witnessed, I barely got them out of the house. And he had jumped into the back of the cab after smashing me to bits and pieces. And we had a horseshoe laneway, and I literally shot him off the back end by swinging fishtailing the tail end, the back end out. And yeah. Well, in this article, let's just read the article for a second in a minute. She tried to get away. We also covered Spencer and Monique Tepe here. We did some lives on that. And Monique Tepe left him, the man that is now in jail, accused of murdering her and her husband, 8 years ago. 8 years ago. So when I ran to Jim's house and Jim said, "You need to go to the police, Leanne," and I took my daughter to the police and they went and arrested him, on the day of court, my dad, who was also abusive, pleaded with me to have the charges dropped. And so I did. He was supposed to do volunteer work and all kinds of things that he never did. And why did I do that? Because the police themselves told me, when I tossed him out of the truck, he went to the neighbor next door to help the neighbor get the battery in our other car that he had been working on. And that they were 100% certain he would have killed me had he caught up to me that day. Did I leave him right away? No, I didn't. I was terrified to leave him. So I spent the next 2 years making sure he hated me before I left. That's the truth. So for those that want to judge how easy it is to get out of a domestic violence situation when you don't have the financial wherewithal, you don't have the family support you need. My family was out of town. And like I said, my dad was the one, an abuser, who pleaded with me to have the charges dropped, because 1 year in jail wasn't going to really do anything for me financially or my kids, and only going to piss him off even more. To this day, he's not remarried. He only proposed to his 15-year girlfriend of 15 years after I told him to. And my kids would tell you that he probably still loves me. And if Jim was on, Jim would tell you too. And Jim would tell you he probably would have killed me that day, though. So it's a real issue and it's a real problem. So I'm not here to change anybody's opinion of whether she should have or could have or what she didn't. But I'm going to read this article because from that we can extrapolate. It's a fine line. It is a fine line. It is a fine line. Yeah, I know, honey. I know. And I get what you're saying. And everybody's situation is different. You know, I was terrified to die and I had nowhere to go. So I, like I said, spent 2 years making sure he hated me. And then he started having affairs. Yeah, so this is different. Like, it depends on the era. So when I'm talking, I'm 57. This was back in the 80s where the things were different. Like, the police didn't, nowadays, because women do what I did because out of fear, they don't give you a choice anymore. You don't get to say whether there's going to be charges. And this is exactly my point. Because of women who are emotionally brutalized and can't make upside down, right side up in any of their thinking. And Hope, you said it earlier. When you're in fight or flight and trauma, your brain physiologically cannot make the right decisions. I'm also a coach, or was a coach and trained as a coach, and I know how the brain works. And when you're in a fight or flight or freeze mode, because your nervous system is in survival mode, your body's the brain's the entire purpose is to conserve the brain. And so all of your energy centers shut down except for what is immediately needed in the brain. And so it's like trying to get a mouse out of a paper bag, but the cheese is, he can't get out of the bag to get the cheese because there's no way out of the bag. Like, you're stuck and confined in this way of thinking loop that you can't get out of. So I guess that's my message, is to try to educate yourself. We're going to read the article. I'm going to go through some facts. And you don't have to agree with me, but if you've never been in the situation, we don't know her entire situation. But I think we do know that the police believe there's enough evidence to say that she was the victim of confinement. Perhaps he wasn't letting her leave. Maybe he was truly threatening the kids' lives or whatever. We don't really know. But let's read this article because other people have covered other articles. This was published, today's February 1st. My grandson, we're going for supper tonight. Levi is 5 today. We just had a FaceTime happy birthday. I think we're doing dinner as a family next weekend when Dallas is around, my other 5-year-old granddaughter. But we're going to go to Boston Pizza tonight. And just very excited. My son-in-law made him, all he wanted, so cute, a video of them this morning waking up. All he wanted was like a construction site, like a sand table full of sand for his toys. So they have this massively big PlayStation downstairs, or play room. And they've got the big blue tarps on the floor because the sand is everywhere. It's like I said to my daughter, oh my God, you're brave. She's like, it's his birthday. It's what he wanted. Oh my God. Anyway, so when we read this article, RCMP in Pictou County have charged the stepfather of missing children, Jack and Lilly Sullivan, with sexual assault involving an adult complainant. Daniel Robert Martell, 34, of Lansdowne, Pictou County, is also charged with assault and forcible confinement. RCMP spokeswoman Allison Gerard said in an email Thursday that Martell was arrested on Monday at 11:30 a.m. in Pictou County without incident. All the charges involve the same complainant, court documents show, and occurred in Lansdowne. All 3 alleged offenses happened between September 1st, 2024 and March 30th, 2025. The kids went missing May. So for over a year, March to May, March, April, May, just over a year, 15 months. the last 2 years that they were living there. The visit, then he took me to court again for a visit canceled, and it was me who almost ended up in jail just for trying to protect my yet. It's just not as simple, and it's a real problem, which we've learned in covering the Monique Spencer and Tepe Spencer case. There's a problem in the way our justice system operates when it comes to abuse of relationships with partners. And man, oh man, men can be the victims too. I'm not saying it's all men. I'm just, when the woman isn't working like Malehya wasn't, and there's financial constraints, I just want us to educate ourselves and not jump to assumptions. Because I I think, hi Faye, nice to see you, honey. And if your abuser is on math and a psychotic in another ball game, believe me, with kid, it could still be. Yeah, exactly. Well, this is it, because math is known to trigger violent episodes, right? It's known to have a violent, and we learned that again from Nick Reiner. This is the thing about true crime, if I personally enjoy the learning part about it, and I mean, I already knew that, but I hadn't heard it from a professional. Drugs to control his mental state now. Yeah, absolutely. And because his brain has been rewired with the math, right? The drugs, the math rewires your brain too. So it's just not as simple. So I just want to talk about this because for a second here, with these dates here, all 3 alleged offenses happened between September 1st, 2024 and March 30th, 2025. And let me just say, as a Canadian, RCMP don't just, yeah. Oh, is it? Okay, sweetie. The RCMP just don't blindly charge. They have to have a serious amount of evidence. And this might have been part of what Malehya was doing in the hospital, was coming down into a reality, because it takes a while for your body. And I'm going to bring it back to myself right now with this channel. Y'all who have been following me from the beginning here know my trauma. And I'm still in a financial crisis and trauma to this day after what happened to my dad. And so my decisions with this channel and what I'm going to do with it are based on finances and back and forth and all over the freaking place. Because when you're in a traumatic situation, your logic is not the same. Your brain is wired into survival. You're firing off on all cylinders. And it's not that easy to be rational. Just my opinion from past experience. And like I said, it's evidenced when I finally get some financial stability in my life, I bet you I'll be able to finally focus more and figure out exactly how I want this channel to move forward, because I've tried all kinds of things. And and you get triggered out of nowhere. I get triggered out of nowhere with my PTSD still. Yeah, absolutely. And so the reality for her to have left the home after the kids were taken, to me, and I said it back then and I felt it back then, she left because she knew. I bet you that wasn't the first time Mr. M, my opinion only, threatened her with the disappearance of those kids. And so when she wakes up and they're gone, she already fucking knew, excuse my language. There wasn't any fucking thought behind it. She didn't need to fucking contemplate. She'd been living in terror already. And so it took her to be stabilized for months. I'm just guessing. I'm not an expert. I'm just an expert survivor, not an expert professionally. But I would bet dollars to donuts that it took her months to stabilize. And because of that, it probably took her months to figure out what she wanted to do with this. Did she want to try to get justice with her kids? I get triggered with any abuse. Absolutely, honey. And I do too. And that's why sometimes I have to take, like, my struggle with true crime is not that my passion's not for it. It's that, one, I can't do the same case over and over and over again where there's nothing to report on. And two, it's extremely traumatic for my body, particularly when I'm channeling and getting visions. It's very traumatic. She also could have been blacked out or blocked. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just don't know. She might have turned to drugs herself as a survival mechanism to block out the pain and the fear. So we don't know. That's the facts. We just don't know. But we know more than we did back then. We know that she has tried to get out of that relationship, and that these episodes happened as far back as, what was the date? March 2024. March 2024. Anyway, so for Malehya Brooks, if you ever see this, I doubt you would, but if you ever do, I feel you. I feel bad that you went through this. It's revenge crime. Malehya wanted to flee. Yeah. This is all about control and power. Control and power. September and 24 to March 25. Thank you, honey. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And the kids went missing in May. So, I'm sure we will find out more. I'm sure we will find out more. But this, I just did a little bit of research. The case of Jack and Lilly Sullivan, who disappeared from Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia on May 2nd, 2025, has highlighted the intense public scrutiny often placed on mothers in high-profile missing persons cases. This is according to Chat. The AI. The children's mother, Malehya Brooks-Murray, has faced online accusations regarding her decision to stay with her then common law partner, Robert Martell. Recently unsealed court documents and news of Martell's arrest, on January 26, 2026, for charges including sexual assault, and forcible confinement of an adult female provide critical context for her situation. Understanding the reality of staying to educate others on why survivors may stay in abusive environments, it's important to recognize several physiological and physical barriers. Coercive control abuse is often not just physical, but involves a pattern of dominance. Court documents indicate Brooks-Murray alleged Martell would physically block her, hold her down, seize her phone to prevent her from calling for help. The danger of leaving. Leaving is statistically the most dangerous time for a victim. Over 70% of victims murdered by abusers are killed after they end the relationship. I'll tell you, that was my fear, especially after the OPP in Huntsville told me without certainty, as did the prosecutor the morning of the trial, that my ex-husband would have killed me had he put the car in the battery and caught up to me had I not gone to the police station. And that has not left my mind. How many years later? I was 30 when I walked out the door. It took me 2 years to leave him, so I was 28. So 29 years ago. So my question now is, she and the kids were at Patty's for Easter and stayed for a few extra days there away from Daniel. Why did she go back? Who knows? Baby's army, my baby's army. She could have gone back to get clothes. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, Shannon posted, I saw Shannon post, Kent Corbett, you're creepy, man. Sorry, dude. You were in here once in the chat. You're just a fucking creep. Why are you having the neighbors spying on Malehya's comings and goings? What the fuck, dude? Get a life. Get a life. Leave the women alone. Exactly. Maybe to sneak things out. I don't know. I don't know. But again, Malehya, from what we understand, was not super close with Cindy. I called my dad and wanted to come back home to Ottawa to live with my parents. And what was I met with? My dad, a lawyer. They could have a multimillionaire could have put me up. I was met with, it's not going to do you any good. So do we know how supportive Cindy was with this? It's easy to say in hindsight that Cindy is coming out and saying, we told her this, we told her that, but do we know the facts? No, we don't know the facts. And I think until we're in the situation exactly as she is and was, it would be very presumptuous for us to assume anything other than what we know is being reported. So I have no idea. And it's a great question. But in time, Mad Babies Army, I bet you we will learn in time. Maybe she didn't, I don't know. Maybe she wanted to plan it. I don't know. But let's go back to the educational piece that I was reading on. The dangers of leaving. That's exactly what I felt. So I personally spent 2 years making sure he would hate me until I found out he was having an affair because I slept in our bedroom and he slept in the basement for 2 years. I didn't want him fucking coming near me or touching me. We barely spoke. It was very uncomfortable. And when I realized he was having an affair, which, hey, I didn't give a rat's ass. Fuck, I was happy. I finally went to an attorney and gave him some papers and walked out the door, which is why he never contested me moving back home to Ottawa with my daughters. But the situation that my kids were in also escalated. There was no heat in the house. He was a drug addict. And my babysitter had to report what my younger daughter said to her about the step girlfriend's son. And they had to launch a Children's Aid investigation. And Children's Aid called me and said, get your kids out of your ex-husband's girlfriend's house now. And so I took them to Ottawa and he didn't contest it. Back to Ottawa. But I'm just saying, having lived through it, I saw the writing on the wall at the very beginning. I said it here, and I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I was right. I said it. I think this is just the beginning. Absolutely. 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 I agree. This is just to scare him. They can't arrest him on the missing children. And they probably don't know whether they were sold. I don't know whether they know. But you can bet dollars to donuts that they have enough evidence to charge him on this. And Malehya needs to stay strong. So she doesn't do what I did. So she doesn't back down later when there's a trial and do what I did and say, I'm too afraid. We need to support if we want to see this man held responsible. Thank you, honey. No, I'm not saying it either, Hope. I'm not saying it either. I'm not saying it either. I'm just saying we don't know, And she's probably living with that guilt every effing day right now. But man, oh man, there's days I wake up and I'm like, fuck, I feel like I can't just ground myself and stay still because I'm still in survival mode after what happened to my dad. That's just my reality. And when you're in survival mode, you just don't think as clearly. You just don't. So, the dangers of LEVA, trauma bonding. Survivors often experience intermittent reinforcement where periods of intense abuse are followed by the honeymoon phase of affection, creating a powerful psychological bond that is difficult to break. I went through this in childhood too. It wasn't until I was in therapy for my failed marriage that I would learn from 2 social workers, 2 therapists, psychiatrists, no, psychologists, sorry, they didn't prescribe meds, that I was the scapegoat in my family dynamic with my dad, my mom, and my sister. And I would bet that Malaya also, and I've talked briefly about this, the programming of generational trauma. Absolutely, honey. You're totally allowed to your opinions. Of course you are. Yeah, absolutely. The and that'll be dependent on what the facts are and what the police can prove, right? Aw, thank you, honey. Thank you. Thank you, Java Queen. Thank you. Um, Java Queen, I'll just let you know so you can decide if you want to stay around. Hey, Lori. Um, because I also volunteer as a psychic medium. Um, welcome in. So if you decide you want to leave because you don't want some of my content knowing that, I just wanted to be transparent with you. Because I wouldn't want you to come into some chats and find out that I do psychic mediumship work. Thank you, honey. I'm very happy to see this. It's snowing there in Georgia. Oh, I know. The weather has been wild everywhere, eh? I hope everybody is staying warm. I made some chili a couple days ago, so it's yeah. Well, we have to respect everybody's opinion, my baby's army. I don't know either. I'm just going on what I felt as a psychic medium, right? And because I've had the visions and I just intuitively, and told this to the RCMP May 8th to Mike Wilson, that, I felt that she had been trying to leave, that she was abused. And this was long before anything came out, you know? So, anyway, let's just read a little bit more. We already knew about the DM doing these things to her, just wasn't in the documents. Yeah, I guess we knew, but did we know? No. We believed it to be true, but we didn't know. No. You guys have no empathy for her, eh? Okay. Well, the facts are the facts, y'all. And I know you have no empathy for her, but the facts are this is a problem. I'll Google it in a second. It is a legitimate problem. They say the same thing. What is that when you have the captives and then the kids are captured and then they're brainwashed? What's that? The brainwashing of washing of victims of kidnappers. What's that called? There's the Stockholm syndrome. It's similar to Stockholm syndrome. It's a similar concept. So it's factually a problem. Whether you personally want to empathize with her or not is your decision. And I'm on the fence, truly. I am. But I wanted to talk about the reality of the situation, whether it applies to her or not. We don't really know. But there is these things, psychological and physical barriers that we've been going through. I'm just going to read the last 2. Coercive control we went through, the dangers of leaving, trauma bonding, isolation and gaslighting. Abusers frequently isolate victims from family and friends. Martell allegedly tried to prevent Malehya Brooks-Murray from contacting her mother, a common tactic to erode support systems and make the victim feel like there is nowhere to go. Systemic pressures. As an Indigenous woman and member of the Sipinaki Katik First Nation, Brooks-Murray's lawyers noted she faced additional fears regarding Indigenous stereotypes and how her personal information might be used to dehumanize her. The current status of the case, Daniel Martell has been charged with sexual assault and forcible confinement related to incidents between September 24th and March 2025, and he has denied these allegations. Of course he has. I mean, he's denied everything. The search Jack and Lilly Sullivan remain missing despite massive search efforts. The RCMP have stated that the recent charges against Martell are unrelated to the children's disappearance. Yeah, I mean, Lori Green, have you ever lived with domestic abuse personally? That's, for those that haven't, just ask yourself, do I really know what it's like? Do I really know what it's like? But let's go in. I want to just Google search. Okay, so I'm just Googling here. I just want to educate ourselves. I know, honey. I know. But she still sees. I don't know. I think a lot of those things are assumptions here. So I just want to Google, and I did, how prevalent is the problem of women leaving abusers? These are the results. On average, women will make seven attempts to leave an abuser before ending the relationship permanently. 7 on average. There are so many possible individual circumstances constraining a woman's ability to pack a bag and turn her back on abuse that it can be challenging to catalog in a meaningful way. This is coming from Why Don't Women Leave Abusive Relationships in the United Way Greater Toronto blog. And this is the same article. On average, women will make 7 attempts to leave an abuser before ending the relationship permanently. There are so many possible individual circumstances constraining a woman's ability to pack a bag and turn her back on abuse that it can be challenging to catalog in any meaningful way. But there are patterns and patterns of abuse and patterns of reaction to abuse. It can be painful to watch those patterns replicate seemingly endlessly. When Rollins went to group therapy to deal with ramifications of living with an abusive partner, she was surprised to hear the same narratives over and over. I've seen my story in hundreds of women, she says. But more painful is when the very fact of staying and the inability to leave is used as a sigil to minimize sometimes horrific abuse. How bad could it have been, after all, if she didn't just leave? For such a long time, we considered family violence a private matter, so there are a lot of misconceptions about what it looks like, says Soji Tate, communications manager for Women's Habitat, a United Way founded shelter and resource center in Etobicoke. Abusers use techniques to control, manipulate, and threaten. Violence rarely comes out of nowhere, and typically there's a slow progression. There's a process of alienation from friends and family. There's blaming and shaming. There's an escalation of threats, and there's usually not until a woman is dependent on the relationship that the abuse escalates to violence. And that's what I started to say earlier when I was told with my therapists what the situation I was in, because what abusers will do is they will, and it was mentioned in the earlier stuff that I was keeping, is they'll dangle the proverbial carrot of niceness long enough to keep you clenched. So in other words, he's promised he's going to get better and it's going to get better. And that they behave for just a little while. And so you're thinking it's going to get better. And there's this psychological loop where you're just broken down psychologically. And it becomes a case of just, for me, it was just very hard to think straight. Abusers use techniques to control, manipulate, and threaten. Violence rarely comes out of nowhere, and typically there's a slow progression. But this is important. There's a process of alienation from friends and families. There's blaming and shaming. There's an escalation to the threats. And then it's usually not until a woman is dependent on the relationship that the abuse escalates to violence. A startling rise in violence against women in Canada. When was this written? This is important to know. February 13th, 2020, right in COVID. Not surprising. I remember. This conversation has always been pressing, but going to the latest statistics, it has taken on a new urgency. Calgary has seen a 40% increase in domestic violent homicides. Amid economic downturns, Alberta and Newfoundland have seen rising rates of intimate partner violence, and intimate partner violence is still the most common form of violence against women, even in the context of dramatic underreporting. The power dynamics of abuse. To an outside observer, abuse makes seem like toxic behavior designed to drive someone away. In fact, the opposite is true. Rather than pushing somebody away, abusive behavior can actually lock an individual in place, destroying the material conditions necessary for independence and also obliterating the self-esteem needed to recognize that a better life is possible. The dominant narrative has been men wanting power and control over female partners, and that's part of what's going on, said Todd Augusta Scott, executive director of Bridges Institute, a domestic violence counseling center in Nova Scotia, of all places. The irony here, the irony. But these guys also don't believe that anyone could choose to love them, so they have to force it. If you don't want her to go anywhere, you don't have to template for a loving relationship. You have to tear her down to your level. That's what keeps her from leaving. For 5 years, Rollins wanted to leave, and for 5 years, she went through the motions of daily life while undertaking a comprehensive analysis of the possible devastation associated with packing a bag and walking out the door. He kept telling me that I couldn't leave, she says. I had 2 young daughters at the time. Would I be able to stay in my home? Would I be able to make it financially? He told me that he would take the kids, that I would never hear from them again. He had isolated me from most of my friends and family and kept telling me that I was alone and no one would help. Victim blaming, gaslighting, and self-doubt. It's extremely common for individuals in an unhealthy relationship to doubt their experience of abuse, either minimizing it or even taking on responsibility for their own mistreatment. As common is the perpetrator's explicit blaming of a victim, often in the form of, if you didn't do X, I wouldn't have done Y, Rollins said. That's when you hear the messages over and over again, you start to believe it. The risk of violence and revenge after leaving domestic abuse. And then the leaving itself can be dangerous. Women are 6 times more likely to be murdered by an ex-partner than a current partner. 6 times. And in the period immediately following a separation, they are most at risk. Yeah, I would, you have no audio? Laurie, you came in late, ma'am. I lived it. I didn't live my kids being abused, but I lived it. So. Again, I'm coming here with love to try to educate people. So if you haven't lived it, I don't think you have a right to talk, period. I really don't think you have a right to talk unless you've lived it. I've lived it. So that's why I'm here talking about it from my experience and to try to educate people. You don't have to agree with me, but hopefully you will learn to maybe learn and educate yourself, because that's what this is about. This is about educating and informing people. Whether Malehya should or shouldn't have is totally your opinion and yours alone, and you're all allowed to have it. But I just want you to educate yourself on the problem, because this is a real problem in Canada and around the world. It's a real problem. And so we can sit here all day and say she should have or shouldn't have. But there'll be another Malehya Brooks-Murray who should have or shouldn't have. There'll be another one after that, and there'll be another one after that. In fact, with the statistics in Canada, there's likely someone going through it in this very second, in this very moment. So, yeah. So, I mean, you're all entitled to your opinion. That's for sure. But I'm here to educate people. And if you don't want to be educated, then don't come here. You know, I'm trying to use this platform as an opportunity to not only help find missing kids and be a voice for justice, but to educate and learn. Because if this is a problem, which it is, how are we going to fix it? The Band-Aid is just to say Malehya should have done. I'm not talking just Malehya. I'm saying globally, Malehya is a pebble of sand in the sea of this problem. She is but one of the sea of women in this situation, and that's what we're learning about. And so I'm just encouraging you. You can have all the different opinions you want. I respect that. That's how we learn in actual fact. In actual fact, this divisiveness of the world right now is shit. It's truly shit. Because the only way we actually get to learn is to hear other people's perspectives. And if we haven't lived it, I don't think we have a right to judge because we can't possibly know. I can't talk about trafficking children. I've never lived it. I can't talk about, you know, things that I haven't lived through from personal experience. But I can talk to you about being the victim of domestic abuse and tell you that it's not as simple as all that. So if we want to make progress in the world, if we truly want to see this world evolve for the better, we have to do things differently. And if they're not working, we need to look at that. And whether you think Malehya should have or shouldn't have left earlier is up to you to decide. But the reality is, Malehya is part of a bigger problem that women don't leave abusive relationships when they should. And that is the problem that we need to figure out. It's not just about Malehya. Yeah, it is specifically with Jack and Lilly, but I'm trying to go globally here in my conversation to say that her decisions are reflective of a global issue that we need to figure out. We need better systems. Yeah. So much shame in the cycle of abuse yes, exactly. You know, it's just, if it was so easy, I wouldn't be reading you statistics that say otherwise right now. So I just am asking people to just open your mind 1%. 1%. All of us, myself included, 1%. If we just open our minds 1%, and if we learn to talk with each other and communicate instead of at each other, which I've done too, talked at you. This does not exclude me, includes me in this conversation. If we could all do better in trying to talk to each other and understand, we might be able to find a new way forward because it's not working. So I'm just going to reread what I said before, and it's right here in bold. Women are 6 times more likely to be murdered by an ex-partner than a current partner, and the period immediately following a separation, they are most at risk. Now, Daniel following her in and out of the CAS parking lot and admitting to it ought to send some alarm bells to the judge that decide to let Daniel free. I hope, hey Donna, I hope like FUCK that Daniel is stupid enough to try to break his probation conditions. I hope he's stupid enough. I hope he gets methed up and breaks it and he ends up in jail. Because I think that's where he needs to be to finally come clean. Yeah, me too, honey. Me too. Me too. And the pattern, the karmic pattern, desperately is part of your DNA, which is no matter how hard you want to escape from the same abusive cycle, it can take years of healing before you don't reprogram yourself back into that exact scenario you were desperately trying to get out of with a different person. And God knows I have tried to learn that as a healer and a coach. And man, it's really, really hard to understand how to heal to that point where you don't literally suck in the same sort of and unintentionally victimizer that you just left. It's a challenge. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let me just keep reading on this article. So I'm going to do some other research in a second here, but that's really scary, those statistics. In addition to the exhaustive pragmatic concerns, a survivor fleeing domestic violence will have to tackle things like ensuring physical safety, securing a new place to live, finding sustainable work, maintaining custody of children, securing their educational continuity, and dealing with family alliances. There are also psychological barriers to grapple with. Even the idea of identifying oneself as a victim can lead to an uncomfortable crisis of identity. Hospitalization rumor, just saying, potentially, just saying. Stabilized, finally, not in the situation, everything unravels and you start to wonder, like, whoa. Just saying, potentially, what happened, what was going on when she was in the hospital? Maybe. Crises of identity. What does it say about me that I chose to love someone who treats me this way and that I stayed this long? Thinking you can change him, but love can still flourish in the corners of even the most violent partnerships. Survivors are often attached to the affection their abusers meters out. I had a vision of my life would be like. I would meet the man of my dreams and we would buy a house together, get married, and have kids. Part of me just kept trying to get back to the guy at the beginning, the one who was so kind and thoughtful and wanted to give me the world, the one that made me feel incredibly loved and safe. We had a house together that I invested so much time and energy into my relationship, just kept thinking I could fix it and he would change. Anyways, the other parts of this article are the cultural stigma around divorce, intimate partner violence in LGBTQ couples, a brutal choice, domestic violence or homelessness. Planning to leave an abuser, no matter how clear it may be to an outsider that person needs to leave an abuser, take notes that it's important not to push. Instead, focus on harm reduction strategies and safety planning tailored to individual circumstances. That might answer the question you had earlier, my baby's army, about why she didn't leave right away. Hey, YouTuber, nice to see you here. We wish she'd gone and gotten. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you know, I'm sure Malehya is going through a long list of I wished I should have's right now. I wished I should have's. Talked about abusive relationship. Thank you, honey. Hey, Hope, can you send me the link, honey? Can you send me the link? It's about looking at the potential supports you have and how you can tap into them, especially if a situation escalates. For some women, it might be packing up some belongings and leaving them at a friend's house, or it might be finding a drop-in program or stashing some money away. Malehya didn't have a car until recently either. I bet you that was part of the planning, was to find her a car. Several months before Rollins left her partner for good, she started a password-protected note on her phone where she kept a daily log of the abusive things he said and did. I made excuses for him all the time. He just tired or stressed out. He doesn't mean it, she says, but there in clear, undeniable text was a pattern of abuse she found harder and harder to wash away. After planning her departure for months, a sudden burst of violence finally pushed her to the end of her marriage. So, that's probably, yeah, I think so too. I think so too. So, am I saying she's not responsible? No, I'm not saying it at all. But if you're just coming in now, I started off with my personal, thank you, honey, my personal explanation of how my own ex and how I made sure he hated me for 2 years. I've never shared that before here, before leaving, because the police told me he would kill me when I wound up at the police station after a physical attack. And absolutely, she is cooperating. Absolutely, she is. And thank you. Oh, I deleted my Messenger, Hope. I've deleted Facebook. I didn't want to do Facebook. I only did it for Krista. She kept hounding me to. I found being on Facebook traumatic because my mom's vision, even though I blocked her family stuff and pictures kept coming up, my sister, and it's just like, I don't want to be on Facebook. No offense to Facebook, but since Facebook is a cesspool, I hate Facebook. Thank you, honey. I absolutely hate it. I only did it for Krista. Oh, sorry, honey. I know. Sorry. Like I said, I never wanted to do Facebook. I can't stand Facebook. It's just a cesspool, in my opinion. That's why I was never on it before. Hey, Ren. Thank you, honey. Thank you. So, yeah, if you're just coming in now, at the very beginning, I shared my own story of being afraid to leave my ex and making sure. I can't stand it. Yeah, it's why I was never on it before I left. If you're just coming in, go back to the beginning. I was just talking about, I know, honey. I know. I can add it back in if you want, Donna. It's just, fuck. You know what I could do? I don't see, the problem is if I could just have, we got to figure out another way. Oh, my daughter found my mitts. Same, zero privacy. I don't know. I just don't like the attitudes on Facebook. It's very bullying, like, especially in Canada. It's just a bullying. It's just a bully. So it's just a bullying platform. I don't do any social media. I really don't anymore. Like, YouTube is it. That's the only place I'm really on, truthfully. So yeah, we'll have to figure it out, Donna. There's just so much. As I was saying, if you're coming in now, I was saying earlier how I tried to leave and made sure my ex-husband hated me for 2 years before I left because of the fear of what he would do to me. And my daughters to this day still don't even know that. They only know that he was charged. And they only found out a couple years ago, literally 2 or 3 years ago. 2 years ago when my ex pulled some bullshit on me and I'd had about enough of covering for his fucking ass. So I got the police, I would call the OPP in Huntsville and Privacy Act and got the arrest report. Thanks, Donna. But I was talking at the beginning how it's not so easy, and I want to educate people, and I'm not asking you to defend Malehya or believe she should have done anything any differently. I'm just asking people to look at the fact that we know now the charges specifically come out and say that she was abused, and it has to be her that Danielle was charged with abuse with, because it specifically says the time period when she was living at Gerlach Road, and it specifically says at that residence. So we now know that and it started March 2024. So she was trying to leave. I bully in math, it's timing bum. Yeah, exactly. and yeah, you have no financial means. And when I said at the beginning, my dad told me, I'll never forget the prosecutor, his name was Rizzo, and we were in court, and my dad had convinced me, he's just going to go to jail for a year. He's going to come out and be more pissed off. He's not going to be working in the meantime. I was a stay-at-home mom. We had moved there so I could be a stay-at-home mom. Mind you, I was working at the bank, but I think I had left the bank. And that's when I decided that I needed to get into real estate, because it was the only way I could survive financially in a small town. There's no jobs in Nova Scotia. I was dealing with the same situation, but less severe in a small town of where you're not considered local unless you've been there for 20 years. I went into real estate and I wouldn't have survived had I not gone to the one company I did, because I got all my traffic because it was in the mall in Huntsville Place Mall at Coldwell Banker. And all my traffic was coming up from Toronto. And then I got to establish myself as a realtor. And that's what I planned on for the 2 years before I felt safe enough to leave, where he wasn't going to kill me, because the police told me he was going to kill me. And they believed it with every fervor in their body. And so the prosecutor, on the day my dad told me to drop it, yelled at me. Are you, sweetie? Yeah, I was in real estate. I'm no longer. I was a coach. I was a real estate agent with Keller Williams and won international awards. And then they asked me to be a coach. But, and I was both paid to be a bold coach and a MAPS coach, one-on-one coaching with Keller Williams. So that's why when I say know about the brain, I know about the brain. And I know about the pattern of thinking that we can get stuck in when we're in survival mode. And I was saying, if you've been following me from the beginning, which Ren, probably one of the people that you're here now from the very beginning, knows, I've been all over the fucking place with this channel, up and down, and not making a sound decision, because I'm still in survival mode. Until I can pay my bills and feed myself, I'm still in survival mode, which is the consequences of the trauma and the financial abuse that my daughters and I and my dad were faced with after my mom did what she did to my dad. And I'm still in stress. I'm still in PTSD survival mode. And until I can get my finances stabilized to pay my bills, it's the reality. And so some of you are looking at me going, what the fuck is this woman doing with her channel? Because there's days where true crime is just so much for me emotionally that I'm like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, because it's hard on my system, especially as a channeler and a medium. It's hard. So I know, honey. I know. I love you too. I love you guys for it. I love you. And I love you all for being here and supporting me. And so again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not saying she's not somehow liable, because I don't know. I really don't know. But God knows what he would be willing to have done that night. Did he drug Malehya? Fuck, we don't know. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you, Ren. I mean, I truly am a true crimer, but I haven't been able to watch it for Donna. You are so sweet, sweetie. Thank you. You really, really, someday when my book sells and I have money, I'll be repaying you, honey. Thank you. I can't do the applauds because I went back to basic, because I just can't afford the cost for super streaming. For StreamYard. So I don't have the anymore. Sorry, honey. Open them, deal with them, and dump them. Been there. I know. We need hat boxes. Yeah. I know. So again, I don't want to tell anybody not to, I'm just saying we don't really know, except that the fact that the police have arrested him with this tells me that they don't believe Malehya has any involvement in this. Maybe I'm wrong. But if they found or felt that there was evidence to support Malehya's involvement with the disappearance of Jack and Lilly, I don't know that they would have gone to the extent of charging Daniel. What do you think? I know, honey. It's not I know. I'm sorry about that. Do what you can to get out. Do what you can to get out. It's a problem. It's a problem. Actually, I wanted to do this. Let me do this because it's also the number one cause of homicide in Canada. From what I understand, domestic killings responsible for deaths in Canada. One in 5 murders in Canada could be a plea deal. Yeah, I thought about that too. Could be a plea deal too. But if that was a plea deal about Jack and Lilly, wouldn't they have arrested him on that? Yeah. So domestic killings in Canada. Domestic killings or intimate partner homicides account for approximately 1 in 5 of all murders in Canada. 1 in 5. While overall homicide rates have fluctuated, violence within relationships remains a persistent, gendered, and deadly issue, with women and girls being disproportionately affected. Key findings on domestic killings in Canada. Victim demographics. In 2022, 117,093 people reported being victims of intimate partner violence, with 8 in 10 victims being women and girls. The frequency data from 2024 indicated that a woman or girl is killed in Canada every 48 hours, often by a male intimate partner. Let me repeat that. Frequency data from 2022 indicated that a woman or girl is killed in Canada every 48 hours, often by a male intimate partner. The risk of intimate partner homicide is higher in rural, remote, and northern communities, over 2.5 times higher than in urban areas. Weapon use. In 2021, the rate of intimate partner homicide by firearm was 33% in rural areas compared to 18% in urban areas. Trends and scope. Increase in violence. While long-term trends showed a decline in spousal homicides between 1974 and 2000, rates of police-reported intimate partner violence have increased by 19% for women and girls between 2024 and 2022. Indigenous women and girls are 12 times more likely to be murdered or missing than any other women in Canada, and 16 times more likely than white women. I'm going to repeat that because Malehya is Indigenous. And I also want to bring up to another point that might bring into fact to bear here, which we don't know. Because of Malehya's Indigenous heritage, perhaps doesn't have or didn't have a trust of the RCMP, because there is a long history of mistrust between natives and the RCMP in this country. I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm just saying, could that have also been another factor in Malehya? Did it take them time to build trust so she could trust them? While long-term trends showed a decline in spousal homicides between 1974 and 2000, the rates of police-reported intimate partner violence has increased by 19%. This is Canada specific for women and girls between 2014 and 2022. Indigenous women and girls, like I said, are 12 times more likely to be murdered or missing. And a lot of them are not taken seriously by police. They believe, and I believe as well. I have worked on Indigenous missing persons cases locally with the police once. I told you about it. And the police did not want to take credit for the fact that we found the girl. But it's a fact that there's, a lot of people that don't feel, a lot of women that are missing that don't ever get found in Indigenous communities. Exactly. And she didn't have a car until recently. So she might have been planning. And if you're just coming in now, we just learned that it takes a woman 7 attempts to leave. How many attempts had Malehya made up until that point? 3, 4, 5, 6? We don't really know. But enough, potentially, allegedly, in my opinion, to have Daniel thinking that he could coerce her to stay by manipulation of the children, potentially, and threatening, potentially. And Durwood admitted himself that he was asked to intervene, potentially. Now it gets even more complex. She is actually, yes, I agree. I agree. Especially when we're talking math and money and somebody like Daniel Martell, who likes to be a misogynistic, macho maniac, Superman. I did it all. I'm great. I'm the best. Yeah. He's the personality that fits the bill here. And like I said, look at what happened to Monique Tepe. Her ex-husband carried that animosity for 8 years around with him. After threatening he would buy the home next door, she would always be his wife. He would always be her husband, and she couldn't get away from him. He waited 8 effing years to execute this. It's pretty sad. I think the RCMP, I know you're watching some of the videos, should be forcing that judge to try to get him in jail. And if it's not possible, because he's been released already, I hope he fucks up and tries to come near Malehya and he gets put back behind jail where he belongs. Because I don't think he's going to talk and squawk like a fucking pig like he should, a squealing little fucking pig, until he gets behind bars. Just my opinion. Oh. She could. I just don't think the police are there. To me, if they thought Malehya was responsible, they wouldn't have charged Daniel with this. Just my opinion. Truly, I think it's not the same case, but it's wrapped into the same case. And Monique got away because she had supportive family. She moved and remarried, and still, yeah. I don't know. Okay, let me go back to this. I just want to finish this because, again, I started this not to say, I'm asking you to think of a Malehya as innocent in this. I want you to have your own opinions. But I'm just asking us to educate ourselves that Malehya, if she stayed behind, was likely suffering from what is a tragic issue in this country and worldwide. Yeah, could be. Did she get drugged up that night? Was she drugged up that night? Fuck, who knows? We don't know. Well, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping he gets jail time. But I'm actually hoping long before that, that he pulls a stupid, that he gets methed up and he tries to follow her and he gets put into jail and he's asked to talk. And it could be that Malehya did nothing that night because out of fear. It really could be. We don't know. And that she was offered a deal in all this. We don't know. But I'm just trying to, again, raise awareness to the fact that there is, whether she did or didn't leave, there is a totally hoping that he does. If I could just voodoo it his way, just so he's a complete dumbass. I just want him to fuck up. I want him to fuck up so bad right now. I want him to fuck up so bad right now. So that he's behind bars, and you know, it is complicated. It's very complicated. So yeah, that was the intent here today, was to just say, you know, we suspected, but now we know. We suspected, but now we know. Oh, I know. It's absolutely disgusting. And that's why I said Kent Corbett. I saw Shannon post something that, you know, a text from Kent. Oh, Malehya hasn't left the house or whatever. It's like, dude, you're disgusting. Why do you care? Why are you so concerned with the comings and goings of Malehya Brooks-Murray, Kent Corbett? Why? And Deerwood, why? Why are you doing Daniel's dirty work, dudes? Why are you doing Daniel's dirty work, dudes? I mean, Kent, I'm not so sure. I think you're just stupid, truthfully. I think you're just dumb. Derwood, I'm not, you know, I have a belief it's a little bit more expanded than that, than just stupid. But you know, you all should get charged for stalking. And I encourage Malehya, if they're stalking you and following you, if you are watching, or if anybody gets to Malehya, have them charged for stalking you if they are monitoring your comings and goings, my dear. Yeah, his little soldiers. Well, yeah, they all need to be agreed. They all need to have little ankle bracelets on. They all need to have little ankle bracelets on. I did a remote viewing. I pray. Yeah, I know, Donna. I know you sent me that yesterday. Do you want me to go back and add Messenger just for chatting on mods? Let me pull up the plunder video here, because I was going to do a short video, but I miss y'all. Let's pull up the plunder video and watch it for a second. Thanks, Hope. Okay, because this is based on the Monique Tepe. Oops. I think the children accidentally ingested drugs, and yeah. Could be, my dear. Absolutely. We don't know, right? Could be. Absolutely. Okay, let's this is about the Monique Tepe video, but she does some research according to Hope. Thank you for sending, on domestic abuse. So let's just watch it while we're talking about the topic. I was going to do a sexual assault month too, and then I just got, with work in the book and everything, I got too busy. But I did want to talk about that. But let's watch this.
We've got some new exclusive information about Michael McKee and Monique's relationship or their marriage. I've just been looking for so much stuff regarding this case. It's really hit me. I feel like I can relate in some ways, again, never likening myself to these victims, but this one has really gotten me in the feels, and so many emotions and memories are coming up. So that's why I wanted to put in this public records request with the Roanoke, that's a difficult city, Roanoke County Police in Virginia. Thanks to the docket, we got the information. Michael McKee was quote unquote cleared by arrest. This is in June 2018 after his divorce from.
So I'm gonna fast forward it through, because we're not talking about Monique Tepe. Her ex was ex-military too. No, they're not Daniels. No. But I wanted to see, absolutely, even if you see it online, that they are checking in your whereabouts, mark your calendar, collect all the info from their post that relates to you. Yeah, Malehya should absolutely should be, if documenting Ken Corbett, Durwood, anybody that's following you, Malehya, you should be documenting that and sending that to the RCMP. So I'm going to just see if I can find where it starts to, because Hope, if this is just all Matthew McKee, I don't know where it starts. Let's just see.
I asked for, of course, incident reports, body cam videos, 911 calls. Let me know anything that happened in that house related to Monique, under all her maiden names and everything, and Michael McKee. I started at January 1st, 2015, all the way to the present. So what they gave us, there are 4 PDFs, and I can put them up on Patreon. And also thanks to the docket, too, for sending me this video footage of McKee, January 20th, 2026, getting, booked into Ohio when he was transported. But as far as these 2018 violations, there are 4 PDFs explaining some kind of zoning violation. So it includes reports from the Roanoke County Police Department. Michael McKee, it says, cleared by arrest. Of course you would think, oh, he was arrested, but of course it doesn't mean that. Anyway, we'll get into it. June 9th, 2018, we're going to fit this incident into the timeline. So let's begin and I'll explain it all.
Happy birthday, Michael.
Now, I'm not going to play this whole thing. Hope, I don't know how long it takes before it gets into the... Is it just about this case, honey, or is it like just about abuse in general? Maybe we can fast forward some. Okay. But I do want to say, like, having experienced not just my ex in another relationship that I ended up with, a guy that also was abusive. I'm not going to get into that right now, but the police told me he was textbook sociopath. Okay, textbook sociopath. Now, where do you think I was getting that DNA? Sort of like my body was, it's like this DNA from my mom was a sociopath, right? Is a sociopath. But anyways, all that to say, there is a true issue with karmic ties and wanting to escape these abusive relationships and just not being able to get out of this constant, like, your body, it's almost like DNA wiring. It's just, I don't even know how else to explain it. Okay, so let's just watch this for a little bit more and see if she gets into specifics. But Monique Tepe left him 8 years later, but look at him is what I want to say. He doesn't look like a murderer. You can't tell. They don't come up to you and say, I'm going to murder you. Like, that's what they were telling me in this textbook sociopath case that of the guy that I ended up with later after my ex, that it would have, if it took them 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 years to convince you that they were going to be good for you and good to you with this occasional dangling the carrot, leaving you there long enough thinking, okay, they're going to change, and then they snap back into their mode. You just can't tell by looking at somebody sometimes in domestic abuse. It's not like Koberger, where you look at Koberger and the guy just has no soul. Like, this picture of him looks like a normal person in that little video you got of his birthday. So it's not as simple as all that, I guess, is my point.
Reportedly, Michael McKee and Monique met at Ohio State University back in the day, in the 2010s, somewhere in there. I don't have all those exact dates down, but they met in there, and apparently after a couple of years of dating, they were engaged. So they may have met maybe around 2011, as I understand it, maybe somewhere in there. All we know is by 2013, they were reportedly engaged. Now, there is this video. It's dated June 30th, 2013. It's the video where Monique is leading the crowd, like singing happy birthday to Michael. And she's like, he's right here. I need to check and see if I can find an engagement ring on her finger as of that point. I'll check the video again. And being abusive, and that's one thing that gives you pause. But again, no blame, no shame, nothing. I understand. Some people are wondering, well, why would Monique never call the police? Well, why wouldn't she report this? Why wouldn't she just leave? Monique did, in fact, leave. And unfortunately, she just could never shake McKee. Maybe she bowed to the pressure. Maybe it was, the honeymoon period. Some men, some women, whatever, perform these grand gestures to win you back. For example, I met I don't like to call him my college sweetheart or anything, but I met my ex in college. And forgive me, people who don't like when YouTubers relate the case to themselves. I'm not doing it in a way to like paint myself as any kind of victim. I'm just saying how I can probably understand Monique's thinking for the people who've never been through it, or for the people who've, never been mistreated, or some people have. And my whole point is that sometimes they do these grand gestures. Like, I met my ex in college, and then later, we dated a while, whatever. It was rocky, it was horrible, but there are good times too. And maybe that's what Monique experienced. The fun times, like when she's singing to him, and they probably have wonderful times. But then when the bad times just totally outweigh those good times, you're in a negative position, and you want out. There has to be something better. Like, single people often comment on these videos like, I'm so glad I'm single, Anyway, I met my ex in college, and then we dated, and then I graduated first, and he asked me to marry him. I was sitting there. It was like an afterthought. I was getting ready for college graduation, and it was just like, will you marry me? It was almost like an afterthought. Like, how can I get you not to leave? Eventually, I left. He was in Florida. I moved to Chicago. We did sneak away, elope, got married. I was 22. I didn't know what I was doing. And then there was this grand gesture right when I was like, maybe we should just call this off. Let's just, stop this. He performed this grand gesture of driving all the way up from Florida to Chicago to take me out to dinner for our first anniversary. And then I was like, okay, fine. So I'm wondering if Monique didn't perhaps want to actually marry him, or maybe she did, or maybe she thought she could love him enough into changing. There's this photo, the one where Monique turns 30. It does not look like she's wearing a large wedding ring, but they were fresh out of college, Monique and McKee, adulting, starting their new life. And that's one thing, I guess that's why we shouldn't make any major decisions, they say, when you lose someone, or, during big times. So like leaving college, moving, making major life decisions because you feel like you should, like just because it's a timetable, is wrong. I just wish I had listened to God or accepted God so much earlier in my life, which I did, but you know what I mean, accepted Jesus and been saved and let the Holy Spirit lead me. Because instead I had in my mind, perhaps Monique did, a lot of people might, you go to school, you go to college, you graduate, and then you get your MRS degree. It might sound old fashioned. I don't know. Some people still believe that. I just always had in my mind, go all the way through school, graduate from college, get married, have kids, but sometimes when you have your timeline in your mind, it might not be the person God has designed for you. But they moved forward. September 14th, 2015, McKee bought this home in Roanoke, Virginia. It's according to his background report I got from that Crime Timelines. I think I said it wrong before. CrimeTimelines.com. I've linked to them below. A good bit of information there. So maybe Monique had it in her mind, like, okay, we're starting off life. We're going.
I've driven through Roanoke many times on my drive from Ottawa to Florida. Interesting. Very interesting. Especially in the last few years when my dad and I were down there dealing with shit. So I think I'm going to keep it at this, an hour and a half in. I thank everybody for being here. I don't know what's next in this case, but I am praying. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And when you're in a traumatic experience like that and you're manipulated and gaslighted and emotionally abused, you start to believe it. It's hard for people to understand, but because my wiring has taken a very long time and I'm still not there on rewiring my brain from not being allowed to be held, wasn't allowed to be held. Scapegoating. Two therapists told me I was in a scapegoating environment, and that's why I say I can speak to this somewhat, having lived it. I'm not Malehya. I can't say anything. I can't say, thank you, Sharon. I can't say for sure, but I think this had a factor, the abuse, the situation, the whole reality of having been abused is not easy to deal with. So I just wanted to come in here and hopefully educate some people, myself, all of us on, the situation, because if we want to end filicide ever in this country or around the world, we need to figure out a better way of helping people who are in domestic abuse situations. And maybe it's not relative to Malehya as much as I think it is, but I think it certainly played a distinct factor in this case. And I think that's why there's charges. That's just my opinion. I think if the RCMP thought Malehya was also responsible for the disappearance of Jack and Lilly, I think they wouldn't be, thank you, Donna. They would not be charging him right now with what they're charging him on. And I'm hoping and praying that they're doing it, which is what I think they're doing it to do, is to get him in a position where he doesn't feel so effing cocky and he doesn't feel so effing arrogant, and that he might start to be pressure cooked into talking and revealing some things. We'll see. We'll see if it works, but I do believe that this is the right direction, that this had to happen if we're ever going to see justice for Jack and Lilly. So I hope that that happens. And I'm not going to say what I'm going to do next because I have no idea at this point in time today, whether it'll be a tarot reading, whether I'll get a vision tonight. I tried to, like I said yesterday, I tried to do remote viewing, and that got kiboshed when my guides decided to come in and give me some information about where these kids are potentially, which I did a video on, and I had to bring my pendulum out. I don't know. I wasn't guided. TikTok, boom. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't guided to the location the way I was with the missing boy that I did find. So I don't know. I was guided visually by Google Maps, taken to the exact location. My ear's ringing now. So I don't know if I should do that with Jack and Lilly because I'm getting validation here because I pulled my pendulum out, but that's not how I found the missing boy that drowned in the St. Lawrence River in Rockport in 2018. September 2018. I went to Google Earth and my guides brought me to the house. I just was looking around and I just had my attention focused to one house. So maybe I'll try that because I am getting validation, but you thought you only got part of what, DEA? I just don't know, Donna. The challenge is I don't know, since Mike Wilson's no longer on the case, what to do with it. I don't know. That's my challenge. But yeah. Anyways, go watch that if you didn't. I heard very, very clearly oil drum, like a barrel. And I know we've seen those at Brad Wong's fire pit. So hidden inside that. He'll never talk. Yeah, I hope you're wrong. Faye, I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong. I think if they have somebody very experienced in human behavior, that they might be able to get him to talk. I do. I think he wants to talk. I do. I think, believe it or not, I think he wants to talk. If he can get a deal, he will. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that something is about, honey. Oil drums, that's where one of the heat sinks hit. No way. No. Seriously? Really? See, again, I don't know all these details because I don't follow the case. Really, DEA? That happened? Well, I also didn't check the location. Let me just pull it up because I don't even remember. Let me pull it up. Was it also by Larrick Road? I think it's on the way towards Larrick Road that I pinned. I didn't even look at it. It's because didn't the witness that said that he was turning around, or whoever was in the car, was going back towards Lairg Road. I'm just going to pull up my pins locations. Hang on, I got to go through all my photos. And I pinned a location without zooming in. And when I zoomed in, sorry, I'm just trying to find it. Got so much stuff in the Jack and Lilly here. When I zoomed in, it's literally at the end of a walking trail that I didn't know existed. So it's possible that it could have been a possible location, because I'll pull it up now. Well, if you didn't see the live, you can go back or the video I did, you can go back and watch it. Why am I not getting, hang on. I might have to just pull it up from my phone. I thought I saved it to my desktop. Okay, hang on, let me pull it up. I didn't know that. And I didn't know. Oops, you can't see without the background. You're going to go back to check the map too. Hang on, let me pull up. Just bear with me. I'm going to see if I can get. Hang on. Okay, hang on. Let's just see if I can go to my pinned locations. How do I get back out? Hang on. I'm trying to get. Hold on, guys. I don't know how to do this on the computer. I usually use my cell phone. Come on. I'm trying to get my pins locations to come up, but I don't know how to do it. So just bear with me. Bear with me, please. Come on. There we go. No, okay. So, no, it's a different account. For the love of God, how could I have more than one Google Earth account? There were 3 heat sinks they said resolved. 2 out of the 3, the oil drums they said were resolved, and the other one was some kind of lawn cement fixture. Interesting. I had no idea. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to pull up the Google Earth. Hang on, I might just have to go to my phone and just take the background off. Let me just upload it. Let me just upload it. Whoops, hang on. Why is it not uploading? Come on. Oh, yeah. Interesting that this photo comes up because I also heard Bert's towing. So I have no idea why I heard Bert's towing. I'm having a technical challenge with these buggers that don't want to upload for some reason. Let's try again. If they don't upload again, it's because for some reason, I don't know. Why are they giving me such a hard time? There they are. Ta-da. Yeah, so I mentioned it in yesterday's video. Go watch it. I said I heard Bert's towing, which I don't know why. I don't know. Bert's towing did come up on a live here. We all felt energetically like something about it. Dig down. There was no mention of digging down. They just kept telling that they would not see anything. I think they dug down, sweetie. I think they dug down. I get that they were dug into hang on, let me just I get that they were dug down. And that's why yesterday in the video, I actually researched, like, why did the cadaver dogs, like, could the cadaver dogs not, would they have not picked that up? So is it possible is why I titled it that way, because I wasn't taken in the same method, but I'm going to try and see if my guides will take me after this. But I just want to show you this first, because I did, before I posted it. Yeah, but it's Ward's towing now. It was Bert's towing. Sorry, or something, I think. Yeah, Ward's towing. Bert's towing. There's a name change or something. But it's Ward's towing now. Yeah. But I heard Bert's towing, and I don't know what that is about. I don't think that's not where they are. There's just something of whether the drums came from there originally, or I don't know. Hang on. Come on. I don't know why I wasn't going to pull this up, so I didn't get prepared. And I don't know why it's giving me such a hard time here. I mean, it might not be that Spirit doesn't want this to come up, because I'm going to try to find it again. There it is. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so I pinned both of these. I know I can't zoom it in. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I pinned both of those. Hang on. I just want to see. Let me pull up Google Maps. 1407 Garlock Road. And it's down this way, I think. Hang on. Okay. Okay, I'm going to bring you now to where this is. I'm not sure, honey. Okay, so this is where I pinned, okay? So you can see the line. This is where I got. I'm just going to change it to the Google satellite in a second here. So I pinned it on the street map, and then I turned it to Google Earth so I could see the trees. So I pinned it right in here, and they live down in here. 1407. Let me just do 1407. Hang on. No, that's not the one. 1407. I'm not sure why it's not giving me 1407. Come on. Okay, there we go. Finally. Let me make sure y'all are still with me. Oh, that stopped. Why is it giving me such a hard time? Okay. So there from that location, if you keep going down Gairloch, it turns into Stewiacke. This is where I pinned, and I did not know the terrain in this, and I get right in here. So I want to just see how this is relative to towards Lairg. Is this towards Lairg? I don't think it is. I think it's the wrong way. I think it's the wrong way because I think Lairg is this way. Where's Lairg? No, it is towards Lairg. Shit! Oh, wow. I had no idea. Lairg is, can you see it? A new Lairg? Can you see it come up? It's right here. Shit. Okay. So then, yeah, so then what I did, DA, is when after I pinned this possible location, I changed it to Google Earth so you could see the terrain. And hang on, that's the wrong one. The hell is it doing? Okay, so we're going to go back down here. And this is the area, and there's the road. Hang on, is that the right one? It's right here. So where I ended up pinning, unbeknownst to me, has a road in. Let me just find it. Right here. Right? This pin location is, I'm right here. So let me just see if I can add a. Okay. Now, when we go back to my pinned location, it's not doing it, but whatever. I don't know why it's being so difficult. But you can see here, there's this road. Oh, it did pin. Okay. But I think I've got this in the wrong spot to my actual pins. I think there's right here a road in where I actually ended up pinning. You can go to the video yesterday. I believe you can see this entrance walkway was like in here at the end of this, where you could probably access from here. But again, is it possible that they're inside drums right here? Right here. Yeah, I mean, it could be. But this farm had seen them, though. Who lives here? Does anybody know who? Is this a family member that lives here? There's also this road in here. Could have gone in this way. This road in here. All the dead trees. I don't know. I don't know if the RCMP looked in that location. You can't see it, Donna? You couldn't see it the whole time? Oh, shit. Are you kidding me? So Gairloch here. This is where I pinned. Oh, it is closer to here, but I'm going off my memory. I didn't use the exact location on my pins because they're not uploading properly. They don't share, but yeah, I'm just comparing it now. Probably the actual pin that I did is probably, let me just move it more in here. There's two of them. They're 500 meters apart. So more in here. More in there. I don't know if I can delete it or what. So yeah, but I got two pins, 500 meters apart. Am I right? Who knows? I don't know. But I will go back and try to do what I did with the other missing boy that I found and see if I can get guidance to location without my pendulum. And thank you for everybody for being here. Like I said, I don't know. Stick around. I'll be doing something tomorrow. I don't know what it is yet. Okay. Stay warm. Love you all. And pray that Mr. Martell F's up. Pray. I don't know what you mean about the map, honey. But yeah, go watch the video yesterday. I put the pins up there. We'll see y'all in one way, shape, or form tomorrow. Love and light, everybody. Have a good day. Stay warm.